Time keeps on leaving and we keep on moving. When do we pass on our wisdom to the youth? My veteran story, lost arts discussions, fireside chats with a bourbon or two. It's time to hear the stories by our military veterans. Get yourself ready. It's the Lost Arts Podcast. The Lost Arts with Andrew Cox.
Hello, my friends, and welcome back to the Lost Art Podcast. The podcast gives a voice to our veterans. On today's episode, we're having a part 2 of my veteran story with Cory Rothman. I'm sure that you all enjoyed part 1, but I'm excited to hear part 2 because he's gone on to do some amazing things, and I think he's got some good scoop for everybody moving forward. If you're enjoying these podcasts, be sure to go to the lostart.podbean.com and be sure to check out the website. Click on that merchandise tab. Go get you something cool, a hat, a shirt, a mug, something like that, and help support what we have going on here. All right, with that, Cory, welcome back. How are things? And I guess we'll get right into it and talk about after the Marine Corps, kind of what happened.
Yeah, no, definitely happy to be back with you and definitely excited to share my story. And I will preface this by just saying, for those of you that do decide, of course, to get out of the military, I was one of those individuals. So by all means, we'll definitely share my story here, but also want to offer up, my assistance. If you're looking for someone to just, chew the fat with a little bit, get some ideas about what should I do education-wise, career-wise. You need someone to look at a resume. You need some type of career counseling. I'm not a professional counselor. I'll put that out there right now, but I've been through a lot. I've seen a lot and I've done a lot. And with all that experience comes knowledge, and I'm absolutely more than happy to share that with anyone and everyone. So by all means, if you want that opportunity, I'm sure Andrew can get you my contact information, but more than happy to help out any fellow veteran out there for sure. So
yeah. And
yeah,
if you want to reach out to him, hit me up with an email. That's the Lost Art with andrewcox@gmail.com. And then I can put you in contact with him as well.
So. Perfect. All right. So now I guess we'll start in the year 2000 when I got out of the military or got out of the Marines, decided to leave. And what was interesting is that I actually wanted to stay in California. Again, leaving 29 Palms, I didn't really want to go anywhere else. And that's because I had met my significant other at the time while I was stationed there. And but I was looking for work. And literally, as my dad has always said, you go where the work is. And I was trying to find a job in technology. I wasn't trying to find a music job. I was just trying to find a computer job, tech job, of some sorts. Looked everywhere and anywhere and everywhere in California, got no bites. So I decided, well, when you get out of the military, you get one more move, on the government's dime, wherever that may be. And so I said, well, let me take a look back home in Wisconsin, see what's possible out there in the job market. And literally, I think it was probably within a week, I'd gotten a response from a company back there. And they said, yeah, we're interested. We have a spot open. We'd love for you to come work for us. And so I said, you know what, Marine Corps, I'm going back to Wisconsin. So, packed up everything and took my last move and got everything back to Wisconsin and set up shop actually in the town that I had left when I went into the Corps. So got an apartment there and went to work for a company at that time called Kohl's Department Stores. Kohl's is still out there. It's pretty much across the U.S. And it was a tech job. It was essentially a desktop support job, running around, helping people with their computers, every day and making sure that they could be functional in their different jobs, whatever that is. And at their corporate office, as you can imagine, in Wisconsin, it was, I think there was almost 2,000 or 3,000 employees there, 2 different buildings. So a massive operation. And I felt like, man, well, this is the start. This is, how I'm going to get started in my career. It's going to be my jumping off point. So, made the best of that while I was there. But the whole time when I had started, is I said, I'm also not going to discount the possibility of getting out to California again because, again, my significant other at the time and I decided we're going to do this long distance relationship. Well, those of you that have ever done it, you know how difficult those are. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. And it was difficult. And I will say, in those 2 years from 2000 to 2002, having that long distance relationship was not the easiest thing in the world. And as you know, things happen, and she had gotten pregnant during that time. So all of a sudden, oh shit, man, I'm on the clock now. She's in California. I'm in Wisconsin. I have a kid coming that's due September of 2022. And as fate would have it, I was around the office one day and I had heard a conversation, and Kohl's at that time was not out on the West Coast. And they were planning this big West Coast expansion out to California. And I said, "Hey, I heard you guys are thinking about going out to the West Coast." I said, "If you're looking for anybody that that you want to have go out there," I said, "put my name on the list. I'm willing and able and ready to go." And literally 2 weeks later, they came back to me and said, "Hey, we can get you out there in August," which was 1 month before my son was supposed to be born. And they said, "What we want you to do is we're going to promote you and we're going to have you now be in charge of IT or technology for the first West Coast distribution center that they were opening up in San Bernardino on there was an old Air Force base there that they had turned into this industrial zone where they were going to put warehouses and, these types of things." And so I said, "Let's go," and moved back out to California in August of that year, and was literally there from when it was dirt and concrete, and was pretty much the main guy helping with all the tech, telecom, everything, being the guy interfacing with all of the project managers and telcos and everything else to get that place operational. And so, this was yet another opportunity, but like I said, the chips fell where they may and got me out to California just in time for my son to be born. So great opportunity. So we're super excited about that. But that was really, even though, yes, the jumping off point was, the corporate gig back in Wisconsin outside of the military, this was my first really big opportunity because now I'm going from being just one of the guys to now being the guy in charge and actually being a supervisor. So let's call it, squad leader, or whatever,
Yeah.
something like that in the military. So I said, wow, now I'm going to have people working for me and I'm going to be the guy running the show for the tech stuff. So that was, the next big thing that occurred in my career. And during that time, literally started, I think it was right around 2000, middle of 2001, is I said, "Hey, if I'm ever going to do anything bigger and better and want to, make more money, get more opportunities," I said, "I really need to get back and finish my university degree." I'd already done 2 years in Wisconsin. And I said, "Well, obviously I can't go back to Wisconsin. That's not going to happen." And, of course, GI Bill, I want to make sure I can use that. And so looked at an opportunity of being able to do that with, and now they're big and they've been around forever. But at the time, University of Phoenix
Yeah.
was, kind of in its infancy. And they had, they were doing this online thing. You can get your degree online, go to school online, your time, your schedule, whatever. And they had a Bachelor of Science in Information Technology opportunity. And I said, "You know what? With my schedule and a new family and everything else," I said, "Man, this actually is probably the way to go." And they worked with the military and they do the GI Bill stuff and everything else and all that. And I said, "Well, this is how I'm going to do it." And so literally signed back up to go back into school, and was working full time, going to school full time, and having a brand new family all at once, back out in California. So I will say this
Talk
to
about
all of you.
stress.
Yeah,
Oh my
it
God.
is. It is. So for those of you out there, and I guarantee there's some of you that are probably dealing with this right now, I I don't have time. I can't go back to school. I can't get my degree. I got this, I got that, whatever. All I simply will say is, yes, you can. If you make You can make time for anything. It's just up to you to make that time.
Right.
So, I literally would work all day. I'd come home, be with the family for a couple hours, have dinner or whatever, hang with the baby. And then, probably around 8 o'clock at night, that's when I would start working on all my school stuff and writing papers and studying and, doing all the things that come along with being, getting a degree. And so within 3 years, it was, I believe, July or June or July of 2004, I graduated with honors with my Bachelor of Science and Information Technology degree. And, that was really going to be now my next step in my career as I start thinking about, okay, what am I going to do next? What do I want to do next? Where do I want to be next? And so I just want to reiterate that there is always a possibility to make time for anything. And education is important. And I will say this as a disclaimer, college is not for everybody. There is no shame in not going to a 4-year university and getting a bachelor's degree or whatever it is, whether it's a trade, whether it's, whatever it is, whatever you want to do, just put forth max effort and make the time to do whatever it is you want to do. And there's the chances of you not being successful are pretty slim. I'll just say that right now. Anything you put your mind to, you can do it. And, so that just showed even with a family, a new job, being back out in California, I was able to do it and successfully graduate with honors. And that led to a lot more, of course, opportunity as, my career started to progress. Um, so yeah,
That's an incredible sell to everybody. Like, I don't know how many times. Oh, I can't do that. I can't do that. I can't do that. If you can do all of that, then I can do the small thing that I'm, putting off. So that's good inspiration for me. So thanks for doing that.
Oh, absolutely. Well, and I'm sure, as long as you were in the military, you saw plenty of people doing their degree at night or,
Oh, yeah.
whatever while they were in the
Yeah.
military. So I'm sure people thought, I can't do that in the military. Oh, yeah, you can. People have done it time after time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very true. Very true.
Yep. All right. So, so I spent really about 5 years with Coles, and then just literally out of the blue, it was March of 2005, and I get this random call. Of course, I will say again, back in the day, this online stuff was really getting going, and you remember the days of Dice and Monster.com and all these job, posting websites and things like
Yeah.
that. And of course, I felt like, well, that's could be where my next opportunity is. So I'm out there putting my resume out there and whatnot, not thinking anything of it. And, out of the blue, I get this random call from a recruiter and says, hey, we have this opportunity where, pretty much what you're doing with Kohl's right now in San Bernardino, you're going to take it to the next level here. And this is up in Bakersfield in the Central Valley of California. We have a 1.8 million square foot warehouse. We're one of the biggest and well-known retailers in the world, and it was IKEA. And for those of you that don't know IKEA, it's the largest home furnishings, retailer in the world. Sure, they may not be as popular in the US, but I'll tell you what, you go outside the US, everybody has IKEA in their house. Everybody knows IKEA. Everybody eats the Swedish meatballs. It's just one of those things. So, yeah, I mean, I said, well, heck, this sounds like a great opportunity. A lot more people working under me, more exposure, great experience, lots of travel, so on and so forth. And I said, well, let's do it. And so, we were living in an apartment down there. Well, actually, we had actually just moved into a house about 8 months earlier out of the apartment. So we sold the house and moving company came, packed everything up, and we moved up to Bakersfield, which is about, we'll just say about 2.5 hours away, and started a new life up here, bought a house, and had about a 45-minute commute each way from home down to a little city called Lebec, where all these warehouses were, and went to work in this massive, almost 2 million square foot warehouse, running the entire tech team that supported that specific warehouse. And, just again, starting to grow my knowledge, my experience, my leadership skills, all of those types of things. And working for a massive global company like that, I'll just say was an amazing opportunity. I actually had 4 different positions within that company, worked there for 13 years, saw the world. I mean, I was in and out of, Canada and Sweden and Germany. And I mean, I was all over the place, just working tech, leading people, teaching people, coaching, mentoring, and had some absolutely amazing experiences. But what was great for me was that to realize that for those of you that maybe have never left, your little small town or your small city, and you say, you know what, I'm going to live here. I was born here and I'm going to die here. Just realize that there is a whole world out there that you don't know about, that you've never seen. And I strongly, strongly encourage you to get outside your four walls, go out and see things, even if it's just travel. Realize that there is culture and people and history and all these things out there that you would just blow your mind. And I really feel fortunate that I was able to be working for such a massive company like IKEA that had operations all over the world and afforded me the opportunity to travel to these countries that I probably never would have gone to be quite honest, just being a normal, average, everyday American. And I'm very grateful for that. I learned a lot and excelled a lot, and that helped me in my career as well, because as I started to lead these global teams and work globally and start to think globally, it really helped me understand that, you know what, again, you can't compartmentalize these types of things that you come across your career and realize that, it's only this small. No, it's really big if you want it to be that way. And just because it is a different country or different culture, sure, they have their little idiosyncrasies. They do things a little different. They speak a different language. But at the end of the day, they're human beings just like you and me. They have families, they have recreation things. They do all the same things that we do, just in a little bit different way. And once you really understand and embrace that and realize that by being exposed to those types of opportunities, you realize we're all on this big spinning rock together, and we're all human beings. And at the end of the day, we're here to support and mentor and coach and nurture and all these things to help us live a better life. And I really feel very grateful for those opportunities that were exposed to me. And I wouldn't trade it for the world. Like I said, I saw things, met people, worked in great offices and warehouses and everything else in places I never would have gone before. And that really was probably, I think, the biggest catalyst into the rest of my career, in the coming years. So, take those opportunities when you see them. Don't be afraid to go outside your comfort zone. Don't look at a job posting or whatever and say, well, that's not the best fit for me because I can't do this, this, and this. I can do this, this, and this. I'll pretty much, and I say this to all the people that have ever worked for me. If you can look at the job description and you can do at least 50 or 60% of what's on there, apply for it if you think it's the right fit for you. Don't think that you always have to be able to do every single little thing that is on that job posting. The perfect person doesn't exist. You learn, you grow, you got to get in there, you got to get your feet wet, you got to do these types of things. Sure, you got to know a little bit about a little bit, to be able to get in there and start working, but don't let those things intimidate you. Don't let the location intimidate you. Don't let the potential, exposure or opportunity or whatever it is. Don't let that scare you, because yes, the unknown is scary, but think about in the military, all the things that we didn't know that we were first exposed to that were scary. They were like, shit, remember the gas chamber? I was freaking out. I mean, I said, this is going to be crazy. I thought I was going to die, but we all came out of it. Sure, we had snot and everything coming out of every porous hole in our body, but we all made it through it. We all survived. So that's just one. It's the same example. Don't, just because it's unknown or because you think it's scary or because you may not think you're the perfect fit for it, don't let that get in your way. Don't let anything get in your way. You are your own worst enemy. So be willing to take that leap and see what it can do for you. You never know what the possibilities will bring.
Yeah.
So
great words. I like that.
Yeah. quickly after that, though, I will say that's when my career really started to take off. And I was literally at a conference, expanding my knowledge. Never, I will say this, never ever stop learning either. There's always something out there to learn. There's always someone new to talk to. There's always something to read, whatever it is. You should really take the mentality of to never stop learning. So I was at this conference learning, developing my skills, networking, all those types of things. And I was in my hotel room that night, and it was actually, it was in Baltimore. And I get this random call again from a recruiter. This I can't tell you how many times this has happened. And he says, I got this amazing opportunity. It's within retail. But he says, we want you to come lead all of the technical support teams for Tiffany and Company, the biggest and
Wow.
most prestigious jewelry company in the world. Everybody knows the little blue box. If you don't know, ask your girlfriend, wife, whatever, it's one of those companies that has a prestige and just it's a namesake that everybody knows around the world. And they said, we want you to come lead all of the teams in all the different locations, the corporate office, some of the retail stuff, some of the warehousing and distribution stuff, whatever it is. And you're going to run the show. They said, but here's the thing. They said, you have to be on site in New Jersey. And I said, whoa, okay. I'm in California. And for a little bit of context, I've been married 3 times. I'm married to my current spouse, the third wife. We've been married since 2015, together since 2014, but we came together with this blended family. I have 3 kids. She has 4 kids. So 7 kids, all in the range. I mean, right now their age ranges are from 16 to 23, but back then, of course, as you can imagine, they were much younger. And my mom also lived with us too. So a household of 10 people. And they said, if you want this job, you have to come work in New Jersey. Well, for those of you that have been divorced, and unfortunately, some of us have gone through that, right, wrong, or indifferent, but it's a reality. And you know as well as I do that the other side, the other spouse, your former spouse, if you came to them and said, hey, I'm going to take all of our kids and move to New Jersey while they stay in California, yeah, there's a snowball's chance in hell that's happening. It ain't happening. So, we literally had to sit down one night. My wife and I talked about it first, and then we had a family meeting and sat down with all the kids and we said, hey, I got this great opportunity. We don't know how we're going to make it work. We have some ideas, but we really think it's one of those opportunities that I'll probably never see this again. So either I take it or I don't. And then I'm stuck wondering the rest of my life, what if?
Yeah.
And I would say the same thing happened, with the military side of things. That's what brought me to enlist in the Marines and go into the band, because I said, what if? And if not now, I'm never going to do it. So that at that time I said, let's go find out. I'm going to find out what if. And I found out what if, because I took that leap just to see what it may hold for me. So same thing here. And we said, you know what? We've got to keep our family home in California. And we're just going to have to go back and forth. And, thinking back now, people have said, how did you do it? How did you make that work? Because literally I would come back and forth on a plane every other weekend to see my kids for a weekend. And I would be back on the flight, Sunday night out of LAX, red eye into Newark, New Jersey, Monday morning, straight into the office. I mean, the schedule with that is insanity alone. And then my wife signed up for the same thing. She was doing the same thing, coming back and forth. So imagine all the rental cars and the Ubers and the plane tickets and everything else, and making it work to have a career and a place to live in New Jersey, as well as doing all of the same things out in California. So, double utilities, double payments, double everything. And people say, how did you do it? And I said, you know what? There is no book out there that you can go buy that tells you how to do this. I said, we figured it out as we went. We jumped in a car, we grabbed everything that we could fit in my car and drove clear across the country to take this job because we thought it was the right thing to do. And again, the only way to know if it was or wasn't was to actually do it. And so I signed up and we did it and we made it work for 2 years and had an absolutely wonderful, wonderful career move, opportunity, people working for me. I was setting up teams in Hong Kong. I had teams in New Jersey and New York and exposed to such an amazing side of luxury jewelry and retail that, if I wouldn't have done that, I guarantee I would not be where I'm at today because now I had risen to the role of a director, had lots of responsibility and lots of exposure that really helped increase my level of understanding. And this is, I'm no longer the guy doing it. I'm now the guy leading those that do it. But I
Yeah.
will say, and I think this ties back to the military well, and I think, Andrew, you'll agree with this, is that the reason my teams and the reason I've been successful as a leader in the world of business and whatever the case may be is that I never asked my people to do anything that I hadn't done myself or didn't know how to do and understand the capacity and the complexity and all the things that go along with that. And that's why every time my teams would literally, if they had to, they would throw themselves in front of a bus for me because they realized that I understood, supported, and then took care of them both personally and professionally. And that's why I've been successful in the things that I've done. So I think, it ties back to the military really well because everything that we did, as you rose through, I mean, obviously you got to be a lot more ranks than I ever did in the military. But the thing is that you got those opportunities or you were promoted because you did the things that you did and you were successful as you were, and they wanted you to be a leader of Marines. And they're not going to have you be a leader of Marines if you don't know what the hell you're doing or you don't know what they're going to be doing. So I guarantee that's why you got the opportunities that you did as well.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah.
And you're right that in the Marine Corps they say troop welfare and oh man, I'm totally blanking right now.
Mhm.
Help me out. What am I trying to say? Mission accomplishment and troop
Mhm.
welfare, right? Which
Yeah.
one is
Yeah.
most important? Well,
Mhm.
obviously, mission accomplishment is the most important, but you
Yep.
can't have mission accomplishment without taking care of the troops and making sure that they get what they need in order to do the mission. And that requires, like you said, that digging in a little bit to the personal life and ask them how they're doing and how's the family and watching their everyday moves and the facial expressions to
Mhm.
how they say hello to you. That determines, hey, are things good at home or are they not?
Mhm.
Because
Mhm.
I don't care who you are, if you're struggling at home, you're going to struggle at work. Like it,
Absolutely.
no matter where you go, that's the way it's going to be. So if you're taking care of the individual, then the mission accomplishment is going to happen.
Yep. You're
So
at,
hey,
it's the old saying, you're only as good as your weakest link. And the
yeah,
thing is that you're going to have your rock stars, which is great. But if those people that are down at the bottom are remaining at the bottom and they don't feel supported, they're going to bring the rest of the team down with you. Just like if you're in a firefight and you got a guy that's dragging ass or whatever the case may be, that's going to affect the mission.
yeah,
Absolutely. There's no doubt about that. So you've got to care about every aspect of the people. You have to expose yourself. And I've
mm-hmm.
used kind of some not I don't know if I just use some things from the military where I would say I kind of think back to the days of, in boot camp when the DI sometimes would say, you know what, I'm taking off my hat. And, now
Yeah,
we're just talking man to man. And I think about that. And sometimes when I'm having conversations with my teams and I say, I don't care what my title says, on my email. I don't care what it says on my business card. I said, right now, it's just you and me. Pretend I'm not your boss. What's going on? What can I help you with? Forget about all these things. Because at the end of the day, if we're not successful together, then I'm not successful, and certainly you're not successful. And I said, sure as hell, if I need to go down with the ship, I'm going down with the ship, but I'm not going to do that. We're going to rise to the occasion and we're going to do this together because I'm going to support who you are and understand what you need and get you those tools in your toolbox to help you be successful. And so, I think about those things back from the military. And as much as some people say, well, we don't want that military stuff in our corporate environment. That's not how we act, and that's not how we think. Well, I'll tell you what, every single military person I know, the things that they bring into the corporate world are absolutely invaluable. And 99, I'm not going to say they're always successful, but probably at least 90% of the time, those things that we learned as Marines, or like I said, airmen or soldiers or whatever the case may be, they can absolutely translate into your personal life, your career, or whatever. Granted, you got to tone them down a little bit. You know, you can't get away
Yeah.
with some of the things that we did back in the day, but there's nothing wrong with structure and discipline and, you know, tenacity and willing to get the job done at whatever cost. I mean, all the things that we learned transfer really well. You just have to know how to put those in play in your new world. So don't be afraid about taking what you've learned and applying that appropriately with your career or your family or whatever it is, because those things that you learned are absolutely invaluable in the rest of your life. So don't forget that.
That's great.
Yeah. So
So,
yeah, it's
Pat, I have a
so
question for you,
sure.
real quick. So,
Yeah.
and you're talking about military going in, and from my experience and from what I know, for me to go into in the position I was in after retiring and stuff, going into a corporate job, uh, I don't know if I would have been a good fit for that, based on my personality and how I was, how I led within the Marine Corps. Uh, Now, could I? Probably. I could probably bite my tongue when I need to.
Mhm.
But, it would be difficult. And what would you have to say to individuals that are actually looking at going into that corporate world? How do they kind of get over that hump?
Yeah, I mean there's context for everything, and the thing is
Yeah.
that there's one thing. There's a one of my favorite movies was actually a military movie called Crimson Tide with Gene Hackman and Denzel Washington. And one of the things that I always remember from that movie is, you know, they're walking down by the missile tubes, and you know, and Denzel says something to Gene Hackman, and Gene says, "Wow, you really have the pulse of the men." And to me, that is probably one of the most important things is one, you got to know who you are, but more importantly, you got to know the people around you. And I try to always tell my teams to tell whoever, I mean, they don't even need to report for me or work for me or whatever the case may be, is knowing your audience is absolutely critical. Some people can take that harsh tone or that constructive criticism with a grain of salt. And some people, you know, you may look at them wrong, or they think you look at them wrong, and they're going to lose their minds. So it's really important that you kind of take some of those human aspects about being able to read people and understand people and learn about what does this person need versus what does that person need, and in the inverse, what don't they need and what does this other person not need, and be able to adapt yourself in your speaking, your writing, your leadership, whatever it is. As long as you're able to do that in a successful way, then you're going to, again, garner the respect and appreciation of those around you by not just having this cookie cutter saying, you know, I'm going to be this hard ass because, you know, that's how we did it in the military. And that's all. No, that's sure. That may be successful there, but it's not always successful in the corporate world. You have to be able to turn it down and turn it up as needed, but at the same time realize that the people that you're dealing with did not go through the same things that we went through. They don't know what it means to get their butt kicked on a daily basis in boot camp for weeks upon weeks and be broken down to nothing and come out this amazing individual. They've never had that, nor will they ever have that. So you have to realize that everyone is different. Everyone has their strengths, but also everyone has their weaknesses. And it's up to you to listen. One of the quotes I love the best is, you know, we have two ears and one mouth. That means you should listen, you know, at least two times more than what you're speaking. So don't be afraid to listen. Ask questions, find things out, and then be able to take that information and then be able to be able to do something with it that is constructive, not only for you if you're a leader, but for those people around you that you're trying to help out. It's a tough place to be. And the thing is that sure, there's books out there you can read and whatnot, but a lot of this comes from the school of life and just experiencing it and doing it. And you're gonna mess up. I'm telling you right now, you're gonna make mistakes. But I'll tell you what, and I've said this to everyone that I've known, I've learned more from my mistakes than my successes. And you should always never forget those mistakes that you made either. Now, if you keep making the same mistake over and over again, shame on you, because that shouldn't happen. But don't ever forget those mistakes. Move on from them quickly, but also don't forget what happened during that time that you made that mistake so you can use that to be that much better in the future. So, it's a tough place to be. And I know, especially for those military folks that have been, 20 years, 23 years, whatever the case may be, you feel like civilian life is going to be this alien world. And it is. I'll be honest with you. There's some things that I still get pissed off every day on. And it's like, man, you wish you could just reach out and take someone in the pugil stick pit and just beat the crap out of them. But, you have to realize that these people don't understand that. And the fact is that it's up to you to be the bigger and the better person and find ways around that. Get creative, listen with empathy, but listen also to understand and correct and instruct and all the things that come along with that. So it's a delicate balance, but the only way you're going to figure it out is to get out there and do it. Trust me, that's the only way you're going to find these things out. You can talk to people, you can read books, but the school of life is a much, much better teacher.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
yeah.
You're throwing out some good scoop here. I hope everybody's listening. This is good.
Right on. So,
go ahead.
So 2 years. I mean, I was at Tiffany Company for 2 years, and as much as we wanted to continue that life, if we didn't have our 7 kids, we probably would have picked up, and moved there, and probably would still be there today because I loved my job there. My wife works in healthcare. She loved working in the hospitals there. If you've never been to New Jersey, don't believe everything you see on TV and in the movies. It's not just what you see in Newark, the concrete jungle or the mafia stuff or whatever. I mean, New Jersey is a wonderful place. They don't call it the Garden State for nothing. Most of it is green. It's not all concrete. It's a beautiful state, great people. I wouldn't trade that for the world. But with that being said, as you can all imagine, those of you that have teenagers or will have teenagers or have had teenagers, that's a very tough time where your kids need a lot of guidance and support and structure and all the things that come along with that. And we had I'll just say some missteps or mishaps that occurred while we were away. And we said, you know what? We've just got to be back with the family. As tough as this is to make this life decision, which that's really what it was. It had nothing to do, I loved my job. She loved her job. We loved where we lived. It had nothing to do with any of that. This was strictly a family decision. We said, we've got to get back to California. So I started looking for opportunities back in California, and that would have been spring of 2019. And this is where I'll say networking again comes into play. So again, whether it's your military network, people you went to school with, friends from the neighborhood, I don't care what it is. Network, because you never know when that person or those persons are going to come back into your life and be able to do something for you that you probably never would have imagined was going to occur anyways. And I'll just simply say that because I started looking for opportunities back in California, and I found an opportunity online. And it just so happened when I was looking at the job, the beautiful part about LinkedIn, if you're not on LinkedIn, I definitely recommend get out there, take a look at it, put a profile up there. If you need any tips on that, feel free to reach out, like I said. But I was looking at this job and it said, hey, you have one connection that works there. And I pull it up. And it just so happens to be one of my fraternity brothers from University of Wisconsin-Oshkosh. I forgot to mention I was in a fraternity there.
Yeah.
And I said, holy crap, what are the chances of a guy from Wisconsin working for a company out in California? And believe it or not, he was actually a recruiter working in HR. Now, not necessarily for the position or for the division that I was looking at, but I said,
Yeah.
I reached out to him. I said, Sean, I don't expect you to get the job for me. I said, can you just get my resume in front of someone that matters? And he said, absolutely. And I will say the rest is history. He did that for me. He didn't get me the job. He just got it on the person's desk that needed to see it. And so I was then offered the opportunity. And I will backtrack here just for a minute. If you remember in part one, I talked about majoring in music, and I also did a little bit of a emphasis on music business. I was doing that when I first went to school, and here now the opportunity was in front of me to actually work in the music industry, to actually be part of music and work in music every day. And it just so happened that Universal Music Group, which is the largest music company in the world, you have Universal Music Group that's number one, you have Sony that's number two, and you have Warner Brothers that's number three. Pretty much any CD that you pick up, any song or band that you like, more likely than not, those individuals are signed with one of those big companies. Now, nobody knows Universal Music Group as a name because they start thinking about, you mean NBC Universal? You mean Universal Studios? No, 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 none of those things. It's all of the labels, though, that are under Universal Music Group, like Capitol Records, for example, Blue
Yeah.
Note, Republic, all these big labels that exist out there are owned by Universal Music. And so I saw this opportunity, and this was again up leveling my skills, being an even bigger leader, coming out, and I ran again the whole tech division for support and engineering and all those types of things for now the biggest music company in the world. And I had four teams in the LA area. One of those teams was at Capitol Tower. So if you've ever been in Hollywood and seen the big Capitol Records building, yep, I used to go there. I had teams working there. I had teams in Woodland Hills and Encino and Santa Monica. I had teams in Nashville. I had teams in New York. I had teams in London. And this just opened yet another door. But what I thought was really cool and interesting is that it kind of came full circle. Is that now, yes, I'm not doing music. I'm not recording music. I'm not in the engineering. I'm not in the studios. I'm not making the music, but I'm supporting all of the individuals that are making the music and got to be exposed to that part of now switching from doing essentially 19 years in retail to now moving over to the entertainment and music industry, which is in absolute opposites of each other. I'll tell you what, right now, I thought I'd seen everything, heard everything, done everything in my career, and entertainment and music is a whole nother animal completely. But again, great opportunities, great people, great teams. Had an absolute amazing ride with them. Unfortunately, I was laid off here a couple months ago in March. They did some restructuring and whatever, and no ill will towards them at all. I loved my job, loved my people, loved everything that I did. And I feel very grateful for that opportunity. But again, it allowed me to broaden my career, learn more, experience more, and really make myself now as a tech leader that much better and have that much more exposure. And now, as I look for my next opportunity, there's some other opportunities out there in entertainment I'm looking at and other places as well. But I've just realized now that, I think probably one of the biggest things I love about this, and I think Andrew, you'll do this, and your kids have seen it, and they'll continue to see it, is that our 7 kids, I feel very grateful because even though, sure, we've jumped around a little bit, but they've seen my wife and I literally, if we thought it was the right opportunity, no matter what it took, no matter what it cost, no matter what stress it put on your personal life or the family life or whatever, if you thought it was the right decision, go do it. Grab the proverbial bull by the balls and go out and do it and figure out, is this the right place for me? And if it's not, that's okay too. But you're never going to know unless you did that. So I think what we've shown our kids, and we have 2 girls graduating. We had one of our girls graduate last weekend from San Diego State. We have another one graduating next weekend from Cal State Long Beach. My son is actually an airman in the Air Force stationed over in Ramstein in Germany. Our kids are doing wonderful things because they saw 2 individuals that came together and showed them that literally anything is possible. If you put your mind to it, you work hard, you take care of business and realize that no matter how big that hurdle is, you're going to find a way to get over it. But you can't do it until you actually do it. And there's no, like I said, there's no book out there that taught me how to do something. I mean, sure, I learned how to do technology, but most of the things I've learned is through experience and mentorship and others and networking and finding ways to expand my mind and my knowledge and everything else. But it's only because I went out there and grabbed it. I took part, I took advantage of it and made it happen. And I encourage all of you that, again, whether you stay in or you get out, that's a personal choice that, all of you will have to deal with. But realize that, whatever your choice is, that's not the end of the road. You have lots of opportunities out there. You have lots of great people. You have lots of great ways to educate yourself. But don't forget that person to your left and to your right. Just like, as we learn, in boot camp, that person in the foxhole to the left and to the right of you, they could be your worst enemies. But when the bullets are coming, when rounds are coming down range, it's amazing how you forget about all that and you just make it happen. And that's, again, that can transfer to every part of life here. So always take advantage of that. Never forget who you are and never forget about the person to your left and to your right, because you never know when they're going to come back into your life, what they're going to help you do, and what they're going to help you achieve, whether it's personal or professional. It's all about people, and people are what's important. And that's why I appreciate, Andrew, you doing this podcast, because you're getting out there, you're reaching out to veterans, helping them understand that, there's others out there that are just like them, or at least a little bit like them, that have seen the same things or going through the same things, have some of the same struggles, but you're not alone. And I think that's the most important message is, we're only on this spinning rock for a short time, but it's all about the people and the relationships that you make while you're on this rock that make life so special. And don't ever forget that.
Yeah, man, that's great. You're full of good wisdom, man. I'm loving it. Those gray hairs that you got, they're coming in handy right about now.
School of Hard
I will
Knocks.
say, yeah.
Yeah.
So for the veterans, this is my opinion. You talk about networking, and a lot of times we always think to ourselves, "Oh no, I probably shouldn't reach out to that person. They don't, maybe they don't want to hear from me or whatever the case may be." I would say reach out anyways, even if the answer is, "Hey, no, I'm good." Okay, well, you got an answer. But if you didn't reach out, you didn't ask, you'll never know. So I say reach out. You're a good example of saying, "Hey, reach out to me. I'll help you. I'll do whatever I can do to help you." And I would venture to say that the majority of veterans out there are like that. Yeah, you'll probably run into one or two that might not be, and that happens. But the
Well,
majority
I
will
would
just
too, and
reach out
I'll
and
say
ask.
this: don't be afraid to use social media either. I can't tell you the number of
Yeah,
military veteran groups. Most of them are Marine ones. I'm not trying to be biased, but I'm a little biased. It's amazing how you can be part of some of these groups on Facebook, for example. And sure, a lot of the time it's making fun of things and this, that, or the other thing. But I'll tell you, there's been times I've seen on these threads where someone says, "Hey, I'm having a rough time. I'm thinking about taking my life." And I know you mentioned, the things that are out there for veterans to get help. It's so amazing to me to see when someone puts a post out there and says, "Hey, here's my number. Can someone call me? I'm not feeling well right now." And the amount of people that jump on that right away, they're calling that person, they're calling people that may know them, they're calling local law enforcement, whatever the case may be. These people don't know each other from Adam, but yet here they are, veterans supporting veterans, and it gives me goosebumps just thinking about that, because like you said, never ever, my dad always said the worst thing they're going to say is no. Never be afraid to ask. Don't be afraid to ask. If anything, we're here to help. We want to help, and other veterans want to help, and take advantage of that. There's one leadership thing that I remember this was back when I was still a music student, and it's the old thing goes, they say, you can't lead others until you can lead yourself. And then they say, though, you're only worth what you can give away. but you can only give away what you have. And I think that's really important to think about, that is that what is your legacy going to be when you leave this earth? And I think that's all about helping and inspiring and coaching and mentoring others, because that's the legacy that you're going to leave behind, whether it's with your kids, your family, your friends, your colleagues, your military brothers and sisters, whatever the case may be. That's the legacy that you want to leave behind. So, also don't fake the funk, though. If you don't know what you're talking about, don't talk about it. Say, hey, I don't know, but I'm willing to find out. So that's why I say only give away what you can have, what you have.
Yeah.
Make sure that you know what you're talking about before you do it, because you don't want to lead someone down the wrong path either. But and it's okay to say I don't know, or it's okay to say I need to ask, or let me find out. But we're all in this together, and I think it's great that you're doing this, Andrew. This is an amazing podcast. I hope that the outreach to the other veterans continues to grow, and that your listening audience continues to grow. But the fact that you took the leap and you're doing this, it's an amazing and wonderful thing. And I'm just happy to be part of have the opportunity to be part of it.
Absolutely. No, I'm excited you came on. Like I lost touch with you. I didn't know where the heck you were. And so I'm flabbergasted being able to hear your story and the amount of success that you've had. You're just a great example for everybody out there, especially those that are getting out and moving on. I think it's fabulous. So kudos to you, man.
Well, I think this just shows, see, we haven't talked to each other in, we'll just call it 24 years. And yet we can just pick up like we were just in the band hall, just, shooting the shit on the couch. It doesn't matter. That's what I love most about the military stuff, is that time doesn't matter. It literally doesn't matter. We all were in the same dirt, same sweat, same blood. We all did it together. And that is the one commonality that nobody can take from us. And I love that.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, hey, thanks for coming on. Thanks for sharing your story, all your wisdom that you're putting in, and offering up your time to all the other veterans out there. And like I said, for the veterans, you can always email me, shoot a message, whatever the case is. I can put you in contact with Cory. We'll figure something out. But yeah, by all means, you want help, you want some knowledge, that man right there has got some knowledge for you. So Cory, thanks for coming on and sharing a lot of this. I think it'll be a good show for the veterans. So.
Yeah, my absolute pleasure. And please feel free to take advantage of that, Andrew. I give him my full permission, to give you my contact information if you so need it. And if I can't help you, I'll find somebody that can. But if I can, I absolutely will. And more than happy to spend the time answering whatever questions you may have about anything. Please take the opportunity.
No. All right. Hey, man, thanks for coming on. Thanks for sharing. To all the listeners out there, always remember that there's somebody out there that can help you. The VA has some incredible stuff going on. You can always dial 988 and then press option 1. You can also text 939-288, or you can go to veteranscrisisline.net and click on that chat icon. Any of those options are going to put you in contact with somebody that's going to be able to help you out. But one veteran life lost is one too many. And like Cory was saying, we're here for each other. We need to help each other. And please reach out, even if it's on Facebook, it's on social media, whatever the case may be. Go ahead and reach out. We're all here for you, and we want what's best for you. So, Cory, one last time, thanks again for coming on. Much appreciated. To everybody out there, stay motivated, change your socks.
Thank you. Appreciate it.